Okay, so what I'm going to do today is basically give you a quick walkthrough on what I'm going to expect for this extra credit, this basically makeup work, to ensure that you guys are able to pass the semester, and that by passing the semester, you're also getting sort of the base knowledge of certain topics that you absolutely probably need for later on in life, like especially if you want to go on to college or any type of healthcare career. Like a lot of the stuff you kind of need to know for sure. And this is all about your body. Like this is how your body's made of. So the very first assignment is gonna be about cells. It's kind of good to know what is actually going on, what makes us human, and why we, basically why we tick. So this would normally be almost 1.5 units, probably definitely a full unit's worth of work. And this has components of it that make up the state lab that we're obviously not able to do, nor is required of you at this time either. So this is going to cover a wide variety of things. It's going to be a lot of research on your own. It'd be either that or me making just large videos and walking through every single answer, which is not exactly, that's probably not a good thing. So, okay. So if you look at this sheet, so you have this video, and then you're also going to have a Google Slides that you're basically going to fill out and you're going to go through. Each slide has a lot of like mix and match and writing components, what you're going to have to do instead of me putting a whole bunch of supporting documents with this is you're going to have to do independent research on this. You're going to see a lot of definitions in there, and you're going to have to go with it. So what I'm going to do is walk you through individual components, and we're going to skip ahead in some of the assignments, and I'm just going to show you how to work on this. Basically just modeling what I expect you to do on your own, because this is like the extra credit part, right? So if you start on page 1, it just says cells, structure, and function. This whole thing is going to be about cells inside and out. You're going to learn basically the basics of human biology. If you go to the second page, like I have it on there, it's easy to see, right? If I have a little keyboard icon up there, it's going to say click and type your answer. There is another section. It says drag a movable answer. So when I mean drag, like if you have an iPad, you're going to take your finger and you're going to click on whatever the answer is, and you're going to drag it to the place where it should be on there. If you have a mouse or a touchpad scroller mouse, you can just click on the answer and drag it over. So either way, you should be able to do that. So let's go to 3. On page 3, it says cell theory, fill in the blanks, and it shows the little keypad at the bottom, right? So we'll do this one together, okay? So it says all living organisms are composed of, and it has a blank there. And so what it's composed of is cells. So you would type in cells. So everyone could type in cells right now. Sorry, my dog's making noise right behind me. Oh my god. So you could type in cells. So if I was not working with you right now, how you would solve this is you would type in cell theory into Google, and it would come up, and it's very quick and easy read. So it says all living organisms are composed of cells. Cells are the basic unit of life. So that second sentence should be basic unit of life. And cells come only from other cells. So cells just don't spontaneously generate. They have to come from another cell. So that is the basics of cell theory. Cell theory is something that is required of all students to know. So that's why I put it, in here. Like it's definitely something you need to know. It's the basics of all like biology right now. Okay, so on number 4, I can go over a little bit of this with you. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna have to let my dog out. Okay, sorry. It's so annoying. And then we have page 4. So this is where we're going to compare eukaryotes and prokaryotes. So if I was to get this page, the first thing I would look up is a eukaryote, and then I would look up what is a prokaryote. And so that's the very first thing that you're going to do. And so eu actually means true. It is a Latin word. Prefix, and then pro means like before, or like basically it's something that developed before the eukaryotes, okay? And so if I look on here, there is a list on the right hand side. You see it says have nucleus. It does not have nucleus. One is a bacteria, One is plants, one is animals, one has circular DNA, one has no organelles, one has linear DNA. Linear meaning straight, okay? Not helixed, not coiled up into chromosomes. Okay, so not forming like any type of shape, okay? So in here, what we're going to do is you're literally going to drag and drop everything from the right to the proper column. And so I'm just going to start you off. Eukaryotes, so have nucleus. They have a nucleus for sure. So I would drag that over and drop it right under eukaryotes. For prokaryotes, they do not have a nucleus. Okay, so I would just drag that over and drop, and you'll see there's like a little red line that probably comes up or something like that. You can just drag it over. Do not hit delete or backspace or anything like that. You will delete columns on here or any of the answers. I have had students try to do this. They just delete a whole bunch of stuff thinking that I won't notice. I do, so please don't do that. Just drag them over. If you ever delete something, press the back button on the top left-hand corner underneath the file button. You can press undo or back, and it'll pop back up. Okay, so that's how you do that page. So I'm not going to give you every answer on that page. We can go to number 5. This is a drag and drop again. So on the dates up here, you have in the blue on the right-hand side, you have things in blue. You can drag those over and put those into the orange portion. So the vertical, see, they even fit in there. These are scientist names. These are scientist names that pop up all the time. Like if we were normally doing a lesson, we'd probably talk about these guys. They were the ones who developed cell theory in conjunction with each other. Each one found a little bit of cell theory, and the next one built on that and built on that. And so underneath that, you're going to put down like Leeuwenhoek. It's Leeuwenhoek, so Leeuwenhoek, so at Dutch. So you'd put that over there, and then you would put in what he found out. So if you type any of these guys' names up, it would immediately come up with what they discovered, like in Google. Okay, so we're on page 6. So now this is labeling plant cell. The best way you could do it is to research it in like parts of a plant cell, and it will come up with something that looks identical to like this. All these shapes are pretty much the common shape that all science books use to describe these organelles. So all you have to do is drag and drop from the right over next to the red line that is pointing towards an organelle. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. So you're going to do that in slides 6, 7, and 8. Now we're on to 9. This is something new. So this is what we're going to do. Mitochondria. You're literally going to have to look up what a mitochondria is, which it's an organelle. So it says describe the function. You're going to click in that big empty box on there. You can click in there, and now you're going to have to type. Like you're going to describe what the function of the organelle is. You probably learned this in junior high or middle school. You might have learned it in like 6th grade-ish. And it was like mitochondria, it's the powerhouse of the cell. That is a juvenile explanation. If you put powerhouse of the cell, like I'm just not going to mark that correct. You need to put in the organelle that produces ATP, or where cellular respiration happens, or something like that. That's what you need to know. That is the more advanced function of the organelle. That does mean it makes power, but you have to describe it in terms of cellular respiration or ATP. Okay. Also, there's a drag portion of it. There's a big check mark. You're going to have to put that down. Like, does the mitochondria only exist in a plant? Does it exist in an animal? Or does it exist in both? You're going to have to look that up. It's almost like a trick question because people think that plants get power from somewhere else. Okay. So you're going to do that for mitochondria, which is on slide 9. You're going to do that for nucleus, slide 10, all the way through slide 18. Those are different organelles. These are the basic functional organelles that are just required. Like if you do not know these types of organelles, then you pretty much you know nothing about cell biology. And so that's why I'm just hitting the major ones up. You absolutely need to know these. Okay, so we're going to go to slide 19. So this one's a little different. This is now, after you know everything about the organelles, now you're going to have like a little, this basically is just a representation of its function. So I'm going to give you a hint. The command center. It's the nucleus, right? The command center is like the brain. And so the nucleus is the brain of a cell. So you would just drag that nucleus over to the command center. So I think you get the picture of what you're supposed to do in this one. So on slide 20, this is talking about processes now. So osmosis is a process. Osmosis is the diffusion of water. And there are other terms on this one. There's selectively permeable on here, which is a term you absolutely must know. And so you can look that one up. I'm going to give it to you now. Selectively permeable. So it's selective, meaning not everything. And then permeable means the ability to go through something. So not everything can go through. So selectively permeable. Not everything, like it's selective, permeable can go through of a membrane, which means like a wall. So not everything can go through this wall is essentially what selectively permeable membrane means. And then so this shows that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sugar molecules on the left-hand side, and there's a lot more on the right-hand side, right? So osmosis. So you're going to use arrows on to show which way things will move through. And so for sugar molecules, they can freely flow through things, okay? And so our water can freely flow through it, but sugar cannot, okay? So what do you notice about the lines on this osmosis page? Like, is the water, like, what do you think about the water? Like, is it going to move at all? Is the water equal on both sides? It is. So this is actually, the reason why I'm walking you through this one is water will not move. Like, there is no water, like, going, it's not going to rush in and fill the left-hand side nor the right-hand side. So on this one, you would actually leave it blank. That's a really hard one, actually. So if I asked you for the diffusion of the sugar molecules, you would absolutely put that the molecules on the bigger side, like, so if it has 20 molecules on the right-hand side, would flow to the left-hand side until they equal out, because that's what it's always going to look towards. Osmosis and diffusion, things equal out in the end. Okay. And then on 21, which is probably the hardest part of this, is going to be talking about different solution types. So hypertonic, isotonic, hypotonic. You're going to have to look those up. And if you look up hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic with red blood cell, I guarantee you it's going to show these pictures. So you'll be able to know which one is which. Now they're going to talk about if water is moving out of a cell or in a cell. So I'm going to help you with the very first one. It says a normal cell. It shows it up on the left-hand side. And then it shows this shrunken, little spiky-looking cell in this first container on the left. So do you think water moved in or out of that? To shrink, would water have to move in or out? Right? It moved out. So in there, like for the water moves, for that very first container with that little spiky cell, you would say water moved out of the cell. Like absolutely did. That's why it's spiky and shrunken. And then, so the cell shape, what is it? It shrinks, right? And so the solution type. Now, this is where you have to find out, like, what a hypertonic solution is, isotonic solution is, or a hypotonic solution, okay? So when you look this up, it'll be readily available on which one is which. And then that's it. That we actually would have done a lab that was based upon osmosis and diffusion, like this one. But this is like an easy overview of what you would need to know from that. And so that's pretty much it. This is a lot for you to do on your own because you have to do a lot of research. But this is the basics of cell biology, and this is going to be your first extra credit homework assignment. And there's going to be 2 more, and that should make up for the units that you've missed. And this should get you the baseline knowledge of mastery that you need to